Good morning Joss, first in the room. Good morning Sally. Hello everyone, thanks for joining me this morning for another live kitchen performance here. Wow, I don't even know what week we're on now, but brilliant that you're all here. I'm loving, actually, I'm going to say a few hellos. I said a few hellos last week. Hello to, wow, brilliant, Zazie, Martin, Priestley, Gary. Lovely. Welcome everybody. Thank you for those of you who joined in on the poll this week. I couldn't make a decision. I think I'm getting very indecisive about all my recipes. So I obviously polled those of you that didn't take part. I polled whether to do katsu this week or whether to do Rocky Road. Well, unsurprisingly, the Rocky Road came through, so we're going to do something really chocolatey, really gorgeous today. Now, Rocky Road is, for me, a sort of go-to for children, for anyone. It's delicious, I'm not going to lie. And we make it a lot here. We used to make it a lot the traditional way. And it always amazed me how much sugar is in Rocky Road, and unnecessarily. So if we think about the main ingredients, we've got all the chocolate, we've got all the butter, the golden syrup, the additional sugar. Yuck, it's literally like squares of sugar, and blood sugar's going ballistic. So I'm doing it a little bit different. You won't be surprised now, those of you that join here every week, that mine's like a rocky-ish road, okay? But hopefully you're gonna love it at the end of this. And I'm definitely producing something much healthier, much more balanced, and that you can have. I love all these hearts flying up. Honestly, welcome. We can all eat these amazing foods, okay? So those of you that are cooking with me, we're not actually cooking. It's like a refrigerator cake, Rocky Road, but we do have to melt our chocolate. Now, only because you know I love to talk to you about all the ingredients, I've melted my chocolate, but I'm going to talk you through it. So those of you cooking with me, start breaking your chocolate up for me into some form of a bowl or a dish that we can use, okay? Let me show you. This is what we call the bain-marie method. So you can put it in your microwave. I'm not going to judge you. So those of you that always melt your chocolate in the microwave, that's the way you want to do it, and that's fine by me. The bain-marie method means that we don't spoil the lovely glossiness of our chocolate. So if this is for a special occasion, or you just like doing everything perfectly and properly, and of course I like to do that for you guys, the bain-marie method. So you get some nice boiling water or hot water in a saucepan. You get a bowl or some form of a dish that's not going to crack under heat, and you place it over the saucepan of hot or boiling water. You ideally don't want the bottom of the bowl to touch the water, okay? And that stops the chocolate tempering, as we call it. It means it goes grainy and grey, which isn't as pretty as when we see lovely, dark, shiny chocolate at the end. We're not cooking this, so we're going to get that lovely shine. So if you have the time and the inclination, like me, let's use the bain-marie method. Otherwise, you can just melt it in a saucepan like this, or you can put it in the microwave, okay? So that's that bit done. Right, now, I've got two versions, those of you that have looked at my recipe card. I was only going to do one of you today, because I've already done one last night, because it has to stay in the fridge for 6 hours. But I might get round to doing both, because I cannot actually tell you how nice my second recipe is, okay? This is the one I usually do. So we've now got this gorgeous melted chocolate. And to that, we're going to start adding the other ingredients. Now, let me just scrape this into this big long dish. Now, if you're using it straight into a saucepan, obviously just use your big saucepan and add all your other bits into it, okay? I'm just going to pour that gorgeous dark melted chocolate straight into a mixing bowl style bowl, okay? Quite big, because we're going to add lots of different ingredients. Those of you that have had a little look, I've given so many options, okay? So there we go, melted chocolate in. The next ingredient I'm going to add to that, Rice Krispies. So I was looking at this, so obviously digestive is your traditional. Now if you're absolutely traditional, some of you out there are, and you're absolutely not going to be convinced not to use digestives, then okay, that's fine, add the digestives in. We're still getting lots of benefits from removing other things later on in a minute. Those of you that can be converted to something lighter, this is, as you've all had a Rice Krispie cake, it's obviously a lot healthier. Each one of these is a single grain of rice, which is puffed, so clearly it's a lot healthier. So I'm going to use these in this one, okay? So just pour in, that's 100 grams, okay? So just pour that in with the 200 grams of melted dark chocolate. Straight in, dead easy. Next, we're going to add nuts. Now, again, as I say every week, please obviously choose a nut that you like, or I'm using different options here. I like mixing my nuts, so I've gone for pistachio in this, and I've gone for almonds. I've pre-toasted them. It's just an option. Some people prefer the flavour of toasted nuts. Some people, and those of you that are purists, would rather just have your nuts, in which case just bash it with a rolling pin, or if you've got a fancy food processor, whack it in the food processor for 10-20 seconds. I quite like, if you can see that, I do quite like a little bit of texture through my nuts. So as you can see, some of it's smaller pieces than others, and that's on purpose. And I'm going to add 3/4 of these because I'm going to show you a little fancy trick at the end. So let's just put that in. Okay, I'm going to give that a quick stir around with my spatula. You can use a spatula, you can use any sort of like form of mixing spoon, wooden spoon, anything you like, okay? So it is looking a little bit like fancy Rice Krispie cakes, okay? Now, to that, we're going to add some maple syrup. Now the maple syrup, I've given option. If you don't like using maple syrup, you don't like the taste of it, then use honey, okay? Just some nice squeezy honey. I've said around 3 tablespoons. We're sort of using this to bind everything together. Choose an option. We're not cooking, so if you've got raw honey or you've bought honey from a local supplier, here's the time to use it. We'll have all the benefits of the raw honey, which of course means it's not been processed, so it's retained all of its antioxidant properties. Really good for you. Maple syrup, again, we've taken away all the nasty sugars that you'll get in your home, your shop bought Rocky Roads or traditional recipe, and we're just replacing it with some fruit, which we're about to add, and with this. So 3 tablespoons straight in. There we go. Now, fruit. This is where we get the rest of the sugar from. Usually and traditionally it would just be more and more sugar, more golden syrup, more things that are just going to spike your blood sugars, make you feel horrible 20 minutes after you've eaten a piece of Rocky Road. You'll either crave more or you'll have to go to bed for half an hour. We don't want any of that, particularly not when we're athletes, okay? And particularly not when I promote this sort of a snack about an hour before you run, okay? Do not want you feeling sleepy halfway through your run. So, I've fallen in love this week, okay, with these. I'm not promoting, I'm not being paid, but these are craisins. And they're like light, so it means a lot of dried fruits are quite high in sugar. These are actually okay, and they're so pretty. Look, they're like little jewels. Can you see? Probably better against the white. Anyway, they taste amazing. So I'm going to add 3/4 of these. There's about, I think there's 50 grams in this recipe. You can, with this, it's not a science Rocky Road, so if you want to add more dried fruit, if you want to add less nuts, it doesn't matter. The binders are important, so obviously the dark chocolate binds it, the honey or the maple syrup bind it, but the rest of it is really down to interpretation of how much you like an ingredient. Okay, so I'm just going with standard sort of measurements. So about 3/4 of those, save a few for our decoration, please, and give them a stir. Okay, so we have effectively created our first Rocky Road. Now, I'm going to show you, before I put it into the tray, how to do a baking sheet, okay? How you put your baking greaseproof paper into a baking tray. Now, I know some of you will know how to do this and have done it 100 times, but I think it's important when I do these, I don't take for granted that you're all regular bakers and that you know. So I'm going to work on with this one with you. Normal baking tray, okay? I've gone for sort of, I don't know, I'm not very good at measurements, but there's my hand, that's the size of it, but it doesn't really matter. Then, greaseproof paper, okay? It's got different names. Some of it's called parchment paper. Greaseproof paper is basically brown, and it basically means nothing sticks to the tray, and it's dead easy for you to get out. So super important on dishes like this to use it, otherwise you're gonna hack away and spoil the look of your Rocky Road, okay? So, you cut a piece just over the size of your baking sheet, so it will go down the sides, okay? And then, little pair of scissors, you just cut on each of the ends. If I hold that up, it's easier to show you. You just cut the little squares off the ends. So, in a moment when we push it in, we've got little edges, okay? Now, in order that it sticks, just a tiny bit of butter, or if you're not using butter, or if you're vegan or whatever, just a spray oil or whatever alternative vegan option you've got. We're not going to eat it, but it's just there to keep that stuck down. So take a little bit of that onto some greaseproof, run it around the edge, just like that, okay? And then get your greaseproof paper straight in. Push it down and it will literally stick to the edges. And I'll show you why it was important we cut out those little squares. So as you can see, the little squares have now meant that the little sides can come together and you've got a nice lined greaseproof paper, okay? what we're going to do is pour. It's not really a pour because obviously we're just going to push it all in to our baking sheet, and then we're going to push it down. And this is quite important because this is going to set together because of the setting of the honey with the melted chocolate. But if we help it by pressing it in, because of course I'm not using oodles and oodles of golden syrup and other things to glue it all together, glue your insides together, make you feel horrible. We've just gone with really good ingredients. Dark chocolate, 70% please. 70% chocolate, 30% sugar. 50% cocoa, 50% sugar. So the higher the cocoa, the lower the sugar amount. The higher the cocoa, the lower the fat amount. So if we complete, and actually it tastes so much better dark chocolate in this recipe than milk chocolate, or dare I say it, white chocolate. Right, I've given that a good push down, okay? Now, the additional nuts and cranberries that we didn't use, we can do something fancy with, okay? Literally scatter them along the top, just like that. Nothing too, I think actually I'm not really into these very fancy looking finishes. I like things to look homemade, I like things to look wholesome and inviting to eat. So, okay, I've just literally sprinkled those gorgeous little jewels of cranberries, those gorgeous green pistachios and the almonds on top. And then I'm just going to very gently, I've got clean hands, no, covered in chocolate now, let me just give them a little wipe. I'm just going to press them in. And again, that's there just so that when it sets, those little nuts and cherries set in. And that's going to go in my fridge now for about 6 hours. If you're short of time, a freezer will speed it up. So it's down to you. Okay, let's do number 2. Number 2 is really healthy. And I was a little bit worried when I made it last night because I haven't made it before, that it was going to be a little bit too choice for me. And I made it and I tried it and I said, right, that's it, it's my favourite. So we're going to make it today. And it's made with dates, okay? So I have soaked my dates for 30 minutes in warm water. Top tip, if you want to make them in a rush and you haven't got 30 minutes to soak your dates, just put them in boiling water for about 5 minutes. It's an important stage because it softens the dates and allows us to create a paste from it. I'm going to strain this water now in my colander, and then we're going to make this amazing date paste. Now, for those of you that are thinking, not sure I'm a fan of Rocky Road, you can use date paste, ratio 1:1, so exactly the same weight for anything with sugar in that you want a caramelly sort of taste from. So that's anything in baking. So this is really important for loads of recipes that you're going to obviously do in the future where you want to have healthier, cut out the sugar. We're going to put the dates straight into my food processor. If you don't have a food processor, please can you buy one? But no, if you don't have one, you can sort of chop this up finely, or you can use one of those soup things that whizzes things up, or you know, some form of a smoothie maker. So into my trusty food processor. Most of you have met my food processor now, it's probably older than most of you. In it goes. To that, one of my favourite all-time ingredients, almond butter. Let me just show you my tubs. I must buy about 6 of these a month. I go for that one, but just, I mean, the smell in here, because I've been measuring it, is just amazing. So just look at that, amazing stuff. So we are using 140 grams of almond butter with the dates to create this incredible paste. So straight into my food processor. And then the only other ingredient I'm using, you can use water here, right? But I'm going to use milk. You can use normal milk for those of you who are lactose intolerant, or you're vegan, or you're on plant-based and you're off dairy. You can use rice milk, soy milk, any form of milk or liquid you want, okay? We're just creating a lovely paste. Tiny bit noisy for a second. Okay, so we've already got the paste. Now I'm just going to pour in probably half of this, so around about 2 or 3 tablespoons of rice milk. Okay, and we have our date paste. So let me just show you how glorious this looks. So it's got that lovely colouring which has come from the dates that have been soaked and the almond butter. Again, if you're a fan of peanut butter, you can use peanut butter, you can use crunchy or smooth, any form of nut butters you want. So, another dish. Let's go with putting this into my dish. Now again, for this one I've given 2 options. If you're being really, really good and you don't want to use 200 grams of chocolate, you can either reduce the chocolate, because we've got quite a lot of binding here with the dates and the nut butter, so it's not important to hold it together, it's just there for flavour. Or if you're being really, really good, you can add 40 grams of cocoa powder, okay? I've melted my chocolate. Have we got a question? Okay, I've melted my chocolate, so I'm going to use melted chocolate. Again, I use the bain-marie method, so I want it all silky and glossy. Again, if you prefer, please use a microwave or do it straight into your saucepan. Now, dates are brilliant. We're using them to replace white sugar. And as I keep telling you about white sugar, it's not great for your blood sugar levels. Dates are high in fibre, so they're going to keep you feeling full for longer. They're going to keep you, they're low glycemic, which means they're not going to reflect your blood sugar levels. They're not going to make them spike, dip, and all of the rest of the things that as athletes we definitely want to avoid. So this, in addition to just being healthier, has other benefits. It's full of antioxidants. It's full of really important things. The dark chocolate, because I haven't mentioned this yet, is packed with iron, manganese and copper. Now, we need all of these as athletes. We've talked about iron all the time. Exercise depletes our iron stores. Lots of athletes have a low iron, okay? Particularly if you're a female athlete, we require more iron. So it's really important that this 200 grams of dark chocolate that we're using is 70% and more, and we then recognise that the additional benefits are for iron, copper, manganese, okay? Look at this, how gorgeous is that? Right, this is basically the base. So rather than using butter, golden syrup, sugar, treacle, all the traditional Rocky Road ingredients, we have gone for dates, almond butter, and some lovely 70% dark chocolate, which we could, of course, use cocoa powder. Okay, to this, in this one, I'm going to use some light, rich tea. I recognise that some of you think a Rocky Road has to have a biscuit in, and I'm okay with that, but all biscuits are not the same. So, because in this it's more for texture and for crunch, we don't need to go for a really sweet biscuit, which we're not going to taste the benefit of it anyway. So why don't we choose something healthier, so we get the texture, we get the structure, but we don't need the extra sugar, we don't need the extra calories. Okay, when I say I crumble my biscuits, what have I put down? Crumble biscuits, I'm terrible. Look, let me give them a little bit more crumbling. Literally, just get them in your hands, and you know, it's fun to give your children or your boyfriends, partners, whatever. But literally, just give them a little crumble in your hands. If you really desperately want them all the same size, get a rolling pin, and either a large A4 envelope is my top tip. Put it in there, seal the envelope, and bash away, or 2 clean tea towels. Okay, I quite like texture, so they're going in about that size. Okay, but it's down to your own preferences. Straight in. Okay, brilliant. Next on there, we are going to go with nuts. We can leave nuts out, we don't have to put nuts in, but I really like them in the Rocky Road, so I'm going to go, I've gone with this one with walnut and pistachio, okay? Again, I've toasted them lightly and I've whisked them up with my rolling pin or in my food processor. Let's tip them in, okay? Now, lastly, I've gone for raisins, okay? Could be cranberries, could be dried mango, could be little bits of dried banana, could be dried strawberries, could be dried, whatever you want, put them in. There's nothing stopping you using fresh pieces of apple. It's going to reduce how long you can keep it for, and it's going to have a higher water content, so it'll be slightly more sticky. But for me, it's about the dried fruit in this. Okay, so we've got everything in there now, and that's the consistency. Fun. And we again are going to press this into one of our trays. Now, when do I think you guys can benefit from this? Let me just talk you through. I had to write this down. I think the average piece of Rocky Road is 458 calories per portion. I think from that 43% is sugars, and I think 27% came from saturated fats. So quite frankly, it's effectively a donut. It's not a great treat to have any time, and your blood sugars will be all over the show. This one per serving is 121 calories a serving. It's about 12 pieces in each of this. I think I'll write these down for you. I think it was 7% saturated fats and 21% sugars. And those sugars are coming from the fruit. It's fructose. It's actually better for you. It's a better form of sugar. So when can you have them? Ideally, these are great to have before your run, about half an hour before you run. They are low glycemic if you're doing the fibre rich one in the dates, but please, if you have GI issues from eating high fibre foods, trial them in smaller runs. Don't use them on a performance day for me. and make sure that it doesn't give you bloat or gut issues when you're running. Otherwise, obviously choose the alternative recipe we did first. And then the alternative time to have them basically would be reasonably as a snack. You can have them at any point. I have to say, they are a treat, so please don't eat the entire tray today. And if you do, don't feel guilty about it as a one-off, okay? I could understand why. When I ate some of the one last night, I literally thought, right, this is the one I'm going to make. The one I'm making now is the one I'm always going to make in future. Another one as well I was going to suggest to you is to put cherries in. Those of you that like cherries, don't use the glassy ones, please. But dried cherries are great in this. So, and then additional flavours, I was thinking of doing some coffee in my next one because I love dark chocolate and chopped coffee. Those of you that like the taste of dark chocolate with sea salt, I'm not against half a teaspoon of good quality sea salt in this as well. You get a lovely flavour. Right, look at that. It looks like a rocky road. Some of you out there, I'm surprised I haven't seen it yet, are probably asking where the marshmallows are. I know marshmallows aren't that bad, okay? But I wanted to show you different options. If you're absolutely obsessed by marshmallows, I suggest using around about 15 grams per one of these trays. It won't be too bad per portion then. And marshmallows on the whole, if you can make them yourself, even better. But on the whole, they're not too bad. I have mentioned on some of these that we can add seeds. So I've got mixed seeds here. Mixed seeds are a brilliant form of omega-3 fats, antioxidants. They're the sort of micronutrients in these that we will find ourselves deficient in at some point in the future. So what I'm going to do, you can add these in, or you can simply sprinkle them over the top and create a little, I think I've done 15 grams of mixed seeds there. So on they go. And then I'm going to decorate these with some flaked almonds. So again, I haven't toasted these. Now you can toast them obviously, but I decided because I toasted the other nuts, I'll do these ones raw. So on they go. Can't help, and I know I shouldn't, but I am going to because you know what I'm like. I can't help just adding a couple of cranberries to the top. Why not? It looks pretty. Dried fruit, higher in sugars, not going to lie to you, but I've checked the sugar content. Mango's okay, craisins are okay, but see if you can find the ones that say low sugar on them. Raisins are okay, homemade raisins, remember I told you, just bake your grapes in a very low oven for about 6 to 8 hours, are okay. Right, again, I've just pressed them down and they're going to go in my fridge. Now, we've done 2 different ones there, and I don't know how long, 22 minutes. Before you all go, I want to show you the ones I made last night, okay? Let me go into my fridge. Now, I wasn't greedy. I haven't eaten half the tray. I've already sliced them up. But I want to show you what happens when it's gone in the fridge overnight. It's literally a block of fabulousness. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to have some of mine later on after dinner, sliced finely with some really strong coffee. But you can just equally wrap it up in parchment, have it, take it on your runs. Take tiny little squares in the back of your really fancy running shorts that I see running Bear Style all the time. And it could be lovely just to keep you going as you're going around your run. Now, you can be really fancy, as I'm going to be, or you can cut them into little squares, as small or as large as you want them. I'm going to be fancy and show you a different way of serving your rocky road. So bear with me. Let me talk you through other options. So I've gone for 70% dark chocolate. You can go up to, wait for it, 100% cocoa in a chocolate. Places like Hotel Chocolat and places do it. To be honest, it's a choice flavour. The benefits are it's much lower in sugar, but at 100% it's actually slightly higher in fat, so there's always sort of some give and take there. So around 70 is about right for when we're baking. Okay, are you ready for this? You can go for any dried fruit whatsoever. You can go for different flavours. If you really like chili in your chocolate, either buy the dark 70% with chili in it, or even just get some dried chili flakes or some fresh chili and add it. Why not? What do you think of them? That is my take on the rocky road. I have done this. These are the date ones. Look how they stand up. I know that's fancy. You might want to cut them in half. That's your toppings. That's them side on. They smell amazing. I know they taste amazing. I want you all to give them a go, okay? You can't, I wish I could just like carve all this up and give you all some to taste, because I think sometimes when you're cooking, it's so important that people get to try it at the end. I know some of you will be cooking with me now. This is really a really good take on a rocky road. It totally and utterly you will be converted. It's so versatile. You can add in any nuts, any dried fruits you want. The date-based one is super, super good for you. We've used really light biscuits. We've used the Rice Krispies. We could have added sweet and salt popcorn or something like that, or none of them at all and just gone for the fruit and nuts. Will you give them a go for me and let me know how you all get on? Next week, because it was such a close poll, so we had, I think, 56 wanted the Rocky Road and 44% wanted the katsu. So I'm going to do the katsu curry with you all next week, and I've converted my Nando's loving daughters into my katsu curry. So even for those of you out there who are literally katsu curry kings and queens, I promise you, you want to come next week and just see how easy it is to create a healthy version. Thank you for joining me. Send me your pictures, please. Let me know which dried fruits and nuts you all use. Send me any of your recipes that you want me to inspire you by making healthier. And I'll catch up with you all in the kitchen this time next week. Take care till then.